Alrighty folks, coming at you guys today with another spreadsheet video. This time we're looking at Wraith and Wraith items that you could build on him, which ones are most efficient and which ones should you really be building. Thanks to everyone who's been supporting the channel recently, coming out to the live streams. We've been having a ton of fun. Got a little bit behind on content, had 2 days off of streaming because we were doing fishing tournaments, but we're back. Let's get right into it. Wraith, the Last Survivor is what I've titled this spreadsheet because Wraith is really one of the last heroes that Omeda have given decent split scaling to, meaning both physical and magical scaling. We see right here. We'll go through all of that, but just thanks everybody for supporting the channel and coming in and hanging out with us in the live streams. Been a lot of fun, and make sure to keep enjoying Pred. Let's get into how you should be building Wraith. Unfortunately, not the most concrete conclusions in this video, but a lot of number crunching, so I hope you guys enjoy. It was a fun one to go through. I'm admittedly not a big Wraith player myself, but I'm going to give him some more tries here now that we've crunched the numbers on which items are really the most efficient. So before we get right into the spreadsheet, if you look at the predecessor page on builds and look at Wraith builds, you can see that most people prefer to kind of go full physical builds on them. You see this one actually is a New Crowns build, which is pretty crazy. But most frequently you'll see builds like this one with Malady, Vank, Infernum, Perforator, Painweaver, Tainted Trident. You see a lot of similarities. Mutilator in a lot of these builds. Vank, Tainted Trident, Painweaver, all that kind of stuff. Recently though, you have seen some people coming around and throwing some magical items in here. Noxia, Megacosm, Soulbinder is definitely one that you should be looking at. So there's a lot of different ways to build Wraith. Attack speed really isn't one of them, but outside of attack speed, you can build them a lot of different ways. So which is actually the best way is the question that we set out to answer in this spreadsheet. Did a lot of number crunching. This spreadsheet is available in the description if you want to come and play in it yourself, move around some stuff, create some actual builds over to the side, because we do not have any set 6-item builds to be displayed in this video, but this spreadsheet will give you a big head start if you are a Wraith main and you want to look at which items can you put together to get certain value. So let's get right into it. What should you be building on Wraith? Well, first off, Wraith's abilities. Like I said, he is the last survivor. He is one of the only heroes that still gets solid split scaling. We used to have Crunch and Revenant both getting pretty good split scaling, and I enjoyed building a mixture of physical and magical items on them, but Crunch now and Wraith as well, both really, it's kind of a stretch to fit more than one magical item in there. If there's a specific passive on a magical item that you want, you can fit them in, but otherwise you're not going to build them. Wraith, his Knock Knock ability, which is his primary damage, his snipe, does 190 plus 110% of your physical power as scaling, plus 70% of your magical power as scaling, and it deals that damage as physical damage. But as you can see, that's pretty solid split scaling. 110% physical is a lot for any ability, and 70% magical is solid as well, considering magical items generally give more power per item, so that 70 can go further than the 110% in a lot of cases. Now his Peekaboo, his grenade, also has split scaling. It does 80 plus 20% of your physical damage or physical power as added damage, and 40% of your magical power as added damage, and it deals that damage as physical. But the other effect of Peekaboo is if they are marked with it, hitting the Knock Knock on a marked target deals bonus magical damage equal to a percent of their max health, which does scale off of your magical power. So 7% of their magical, or 7% of their max health, plus 2.5% extra of their max health per 100 magical power that you have. So that's pretty good value. Even if you've only got 100 magical power, you're going to be getting close to 10% of their max health damage. Now that's pre-mitigation and is dealt as bonus magical damage, not true damage. But that is something you have to keep in mind. It gets pretty solid magical scaling as well. And then of course his invisibility gives you a bonus 26% physical pin at its max rank. So that's the scaling that we're looking at. Now let's see how that translates to items. What I've done here with this table is I've done an item value analysis and listed just about every item I could foresee being valuable on Wraith. There are other ones that you could, like niche item picks that you could flex into Wraith that are not listed here. But this is all the most popular ones and all the ones that I could really consider. And what we've done is we've listed their physical power, their magical power, the haste. Haste is a very important stat on your Wraith builds because you want to get both the grenade and the knock-knock off cooldown fast. The knock-knock will come back instantly if you hit someone who's marked, but when you're not hitting someone who's marked, you want it to come back quick anyway, and you want the grenade up as often as possible, so big haste is important. We've also listed their flat pin here. You're usually building a fair amount of flat pin items on Wraith, considering you do not need attack speed, so more penetration is better for getting through armor. Then we've listed mana here because early game, especially on Wraith, mana management can be a problem, so we want to consider that, as well as the fact that you may be building Resolution or Mind Razor or both to get extra mana scaling, so we're just listing what the item's mana is. And then what we've done is done a calculation here in the final column of the physical power and magical power scaling. Here, the 110% physical, we see 1.1 times multiplier, and 70% magical, a 0.7 times multiplier. And then we've added the flat pin just for simplification purposes, saying that if you have 7 flat pin, you should deal 7 more damage. That's really not in reality how the calculations work, but it's pretty close, so that is the best approximation we can get for knock-knock damage added, which is what we're finally calculating in this farthest right column. So, gone through here, listed all these items, calculated their damage added to knock-knock, because that's really what we're focusing on, is hitting with knock-knock as hard as possible. It has 190 base damage as well to keep in mind, so this is not damage dealt with knock-knock, this is knock-knock damage added just from that item alone. So we've also done an asterisk beside the damage added for items that should usually add more damage with its passive effect. You look at something like Resolution, our very first one. In reality, you're going to have other mana items, which means you're going to get more power, which means you're going to get more knock-knock damage added from building Resolution than just this number right here. And you'll see that for a lot of the pin items too, like Demolisher is 44 knock-knock damage added, but after the pin, it's really going to be a lot more most of the time. So, and then we've done a final little tech value category over here where I've described what are the other stats that you get from that item, what is the tech value from that passive, whether it be Vanquisher, which gives you some crit and an execute, whether it be something like Basilisk, which gives you health and armor shred and move speed, stuff like that. Just all of their tech value are listed here with some color coding beside them relating to some of these things that we'll go through here at the end. So that's what we've done for this table. You can see some items, of course, that you would expect or that you frequently see built on him do add more knock-knock damage than others. Something like Resolution, which is very commonly built on him, adds a lot of knock-knock damage because it comes with flat pin and a lot of power. Same thing with Painweaver, comes with flat pin, comes with a lot of power, a strong passive, has very high knock-knock damage added. And we've done, like I said, we started out with all these physical items, and we've also added a bunch of magical items because he is the last survivor of split scaling. So I'm not going to go through every item on this table. You can look through them yourself if you want. Like I said, spreadsheet is available if you want to come in here and take some more time on it, or come through and read these specifically. You see some items in here, like, hey, Mutilator. It's unique because it gives you Omnivamp and bonus max health damage. That is very solid. Green in this coding is for health regen or health sustain items, similar to Nightfall, which gives you Omnivamp, heal on ability hit, and shields on takedown. That is a health sustaining item, so we've coded it green. So a lot of work went into this table and breaking down these items and the damage number. What I've done is I've highlighted all the 20 haste items as well in the haste category. You see items like Aug give 20 haste. That is incredibly valuable. Items like Penumbrum gives 20 haste. Pretty solid. You're not going to build it most of the time, but it is a possibility. Mind Razor, another very solid one for 20 haste. Also getting the orange coding, which for us is clear speed bonus, because Wraith does have slower clear speed than the majority of carries or mids. Pretty much every carry and mid that you're going to be playing as, at least early game. So that's how we've got this table laid out. We've highlighted every knock-knock damage added item that breaks the 60 barrier. So you can see like Noxie is right there at 60 as far as damage added through the scaling formula right here. to the Knock Knock ability itself. So something like Pain Weaver breaks over that 60 category. Dream Binder breaks over that 60 category, a big magical power item. Something like Orb of Growth gives you a ton of damage added to Knock Knock, at least at max rank, because Orb of Growth offers so much magical power after it's evolved into Orb of Enlightenment. And then some other ones that are coming close to 60, like I said, Noxia, Wraith Leggings getting over that barrier, Oblivion Crown, of course, adding a lot of magical power, so it gets you well over 60 damage added to your Knock Knock. One thing that you initially noticed from this table is that the majority of physical items, especially all these that offer in the 40 to 45 physical power category, are not going to quite get you to 60 damage added to your Knock Knock, because although it is 110% physical scaling added, this is just a lower power number added than you get from a lot of these magicals that add more like 70, 80, 90. These are adding more like 40, 45, 50. So that's why I wanted to investigate this and the split scaling to see what we could come up with. Let's get into the conclusions, I guess. Like I said, if you want to dive into this or look at it more in depth, open up the spreadsheet for yourself. You can see the exact numbers here that these items add. You know, Dream Binder, a solid one. Orb of Growth. Azure Core, of course, a solid one because you're getting so much extra mana scaling, especially if you build this on top of Resolution. This is in reality going to be adding a lot more because you're going to get double mana scaling on both sides. So this does not take into effect their passives like Combustion proccing. That's why we have an asterisk right here, which is, in reality, it's usually adding more damage to Knock Knock through its passive, but it is not calculated in the raw Knock Knock damage added category that we've got here. So that's how I've got the table laid out. I hope it is helpful for you guys. Open the spreadsheet for yourself and come look around in it. Read all of these tech options if you're interested in looking through what kind of tech you can get from these, because they are very different. Most of the highlights were ones that were very unique, like Mana Sustain is kind of my blue highlight. You've got something like Cresselia in here highlighted blue because it gives you Mana Sustain, which is kind of hard to come by. Time Warp, another one highlighted blue, doesn't add as much to the Knock Knock as some of the other items, but it does give you very solid Mana Sustain. So that's how I've got the table laid out. Let's take a look at some key item summary, because I think that's what we really want to see here. So, key item summary, starting off, first off, what are the highest pure Knock Knock damage items, pure Knock Knock damage added items that you can build? Well, ignoring their passives, which if we included passives, we would have the percent pin items here listed as well, because percent pin is incredibly strong. Keep in mind he does get 26% pin just for leveling up his invisibility, which is really strong. But percent pin is really strong, and flat pin. So the highest, based off our calculations, pure Knock Knock damage added items are on the physical side, Resolution and Pain Weaver. No surprise, these add a lot of Knock Knock damage because they come with flat pin and big power numbers. So you take advantage of that 110% physical power scaling. On the magic side, you've got more options realistically. You've got Oblivion Crown, which adds quite a lot. You've got Dream Binder. Like I said, 90 base power adds quite a lot. Orb of Growth, Azure Core, Noxia, and Wraith Leggings, all adding quite a bit of power to or damage per item to your Knock Knock in the calculations. So if you want big Knock Knock base damage, these are kind of the items that you're looking at. You're probably not going to build 6 of these because you're going to want some tech, but that is your options right there. Now, like I said, Wraith struggles in the mana department, especially early in the game. If you're running out of mana too fast from spamming your Knock Knock, your opponent laner is going to be able to get more time in lane and more farm, and they're going to pull ahead of you. So what are your mana sustain options? You've got Resolution to get stacking mana as you get kills. That'll give you a little bit of mana upkeep. Doesn't actually give you true mana regen, but will upkeep your mana a little bit. You've got Cresselia, which does give you true mana regen, as well as Time Warp and Caustica. These can help you stay in lane longer because it's giving you true mana regen. And then you've got Azure Core, which is the same thing as Resolution, where when you're finishing off minions, you get a little bit of max mana added, but it comes in the form of already full mana, so you get mana as you get more kills. Building both of those will definitely sustain you quite a bit, as well as potentially Mage Crest as your starting crest, which I have found a lot of success with. So next up, clear speed improving item options. Like I said, Wraith is going to struggle both at the carry and mid lane role to keep up in clear with his opponent laner the majority of the time early game. So what are your options as far as your first item to build to get extra clear? Well, we've got Mind Razor, we've got Malady. These are the typical physical damage items. They give you faster clear. Malady causing the area damage after you kill a enemy or a minion, I guess I should say, or a monster would be in the jungle, so a minion in lane. Mind Razor giving you damage in an area after you auto attack, similar to Overlord. I've got Overlord in parentheses here because you really aren't going to be wanting to build Overlord the majority of the time, but it is an option if you're interested in it. And then Combustion, which is an area magic damage proc when hitting abilities on minions. So any of these options can give you faster clear and help you keep up with your opponent laner. They're coded orange here, just as they're coded orange up here on the table. Next up, we've got potential health sustain item options. You're usually not building a lot of health sustain on someone who's squishy and not intending to take damage like Wraith, but if you're interested in a potential health sustain option to stay in lane longer and trade more frequently, think about if you're against a Howie in mid lane. He's going to be hitting you with damage, so having some sustain would be nice to keep yourself in lane longer. We've got Mutilator, Nightfall, Magnify, all of these three giving you Omnivamp. That means healing on both your autos and your abilities, so you will be able to health sustain pretty solidly. Nightfall probably giving you the most out of those because it gives you bonus healing on abilities like Knock Knock. Mutilator being good for max health damage if you're against a tank, like a tank support in duo. And then Orb of Growth, which heals you for 3%, I believe it's 3% of your missing health on ability cast, and you're going to be spamming Knock Knock, so that's going to be proccing quite a bit and giving you some health regen based on how low you actually are, but probably the weaker of these options here. Just if you're interested in it, they're coded green as they're coded green over here. Next up, we've got anti-heal tech options. There's a couple that are pretty viable, I would say, on Wraith, especially with the split scaling. You've got Tainted Blade, which gives the target that you hit with it more damage taken from all sources, which is quite nice if you're playing support Wraith. I would say for sure this is probably your best Tainted option. You've got Tainted Trident, which gives you more ability damage dealt after proccing Tainted on them. And then you've got Tainted Scepter if you're going with a magical build or you want to get a magical item in there. Tainted Scepter, good split of stats, good proc for extra damage as well, and solid anti-heal item with his scaling. These are coded purple here as they're coded purple in the table. Finally, we've got tank killing item options, which are coded red here and coded red in the table. These are mostly pin items or max health proccing items. On the physical side, we've got, of course, Demolisher and Perforator, which are your 2% pin items. Perforator also coming with flat pin, and a slow, and Demolisher coming with crit, so you can go either way on that. Then you've got Painweaver, which gives you stacking flat pin up to the most flat pin you're going to get out of a single item, which is quite nice. Infernum, which gives you tick bleed damage based off of their armor. And then Vanquisher, which gives you an execute and flat pin, so solid for finishing off tanks. On the magical side, similar story, we've got Costiga, which is your percent pin item. Keep in mind, the only thing that this percent magical armor is, or percent magical pin is going to get through is the mark knock knock damage. Because his other abilities deal physical damage, so we'll help you get this max health damage off if you're marking and knock-knocking them, but that's about it. And then you've got the actual proc items like Noxia, which does a max health damage proc, and Megacosm, which does a max health damage tick after you hit them with abilities. So a couple solid tank killing options. Wraith is a very good tank killer with that extra physical pin that he has from his invisibility ability. Finally, I've done a little extra category here, which are on auto hit proccing items that include haste, because there are on hit proc items that don't include haste, but these are items that give you a damage proc from hitting an auto attack, but that also come with haste, because the general cycle is you're hitting with a knock-knock, and then you're hitting with an auto, then you're potentially hitting with another knock-knock or a mark. So what can we do to make those autos hit for a little bit harder? Well, you could build something like Aug, Mutilator, or Solaris, where you get bonus damage on your autos attacks, with Solaris and Aug proccing after an ability, and Mutilator just proccing on every auto, but also giving you decent extra damage to your knock-knocks. And then on the magical side, you've got Cresselia, Oathkeeper, and Magnify, which all function about the same way, which is after an ability or once you reach a certain threshold of movement and ability casting, your next auto will trigger a magical damage bonus. So these all come with decent haste, and they give your autos extra damage if you're interested in that kind of thing. I didn't color code them because most of these are in some of these other categories above, but just something to keep in mind. So that's the key item summary. These are the categories I've broken them down into. Most builds, you're considering items from different categories. Like I said, if we look at the predecessor builds page, we can see that there's a wide variety of things being considered. A lot of these are in my tank killing category. On hit items, you see Solaris here. We see Mutilator in quite a few builds because it adds damage to both his autos and his knock-knocks, which is pretty solid. We see him up here as well. Noxia being mentioned a few times, Magnify being mentioned, Infernum a frequent pickup. But that's what we've got as far as key items. I'm sure that's covers the basis for what you're usually building on him if you are a big Wraith fan, or what you're usually seeing built on him when you play against him. So let's go through some conclusions and try to boil this down into the tightest package I can. Like I said, check out this spreadsheet for its in its totalitarianness. In its entirety, I guess I should say is better, in the description below, if you want to come through here and read these tech options, break down item by item how much knock-knock damage is added, how much haste you get, how much mana and flat pin you get, and all that. So let's go through the conclusions to wrap this one up. Late game Wraith will benefit the most from maximum knock-knock damage and fast cooldowns. That's what you're building Wraith for, is to hit hard and have that knock-knock off cooldown repeatedly to get those hard hits off. The combination of physical and magical damage scaling on knock-knock makes a variety of items valuable for this. As we just looked at, there's actually more magical items that add damage to knock-knock itself. You got to keep in mind these are not adding damage to your auto attacks though. So it's give and take. Do you want your knock-knock to hit ridiculously hard and your autos to do less damage, or the other way around, or a mix in the middle? Stacking/scaling items. I'm thinking Resolution, Alchemical Rod into Azure Core. I'm thinking Orb of Growth, Oblivion Crown. Those big stacking items that give you huge numbers. You'll see most of them highlighted in the most knock-knock damage added category. Provide the most in-game value, but they will make for a slow start if you're trying to build multiple stacking items, thinking about Soul Chalice and Alchemical Rod early. If you can get them online late game, you're going to be insanely powerful, but they are going to make for a slow early game. And you don't want to lose your early game because you can get snowballed out quickly. Speaking of which, early game Wraith will need improved clear speed and mana sustain to keep up in lane, depending on your matchup and depending on if you're playing in mid or in carry. So if you're getting out cleared and pushed out constantly, or sitting under your tower the whole game, it's going to be hard to keep up. And if you're having to back frequently because you're running out of mana, it's going to be the same story. So you're going to need improved clear speed and mana sustain somewhere, unless you're just incredibly good with Wraith. Then you can just build straight max damage, I guess would be the way. But from my testing, that's not been the case. So there are very few clear increasing or mana sustaining items to pick from here that give you good value. Of course, you could build any clear boosting item and mana sustaining item, but really the only ones that you're considering are these right here, as far as items that give you mana sustain and boosted clear, or one or the other. So take a look at these. You're probably going to need one of them as your first item. But if you choose not to build one of these items first, you will need some clear help from your partner in duo, or consistent Riverbug contests in mid to sustain your mana and to at least keep up and clear with your opponent. Let me know specifically in the comments, if you are a big Wraith player, how you keep up and clear. Is there a tech item you prefer? I'm definitely partial to Malady or Mind Razor, and then on the Mana Sustain item side, Cresselia is really solid in support. Resolution or Alchemical Rod or both are solid. Mage Crest, like I said, I'm a big fan of Mage Crest if you're playing him in mid to keep that mana up as well. So, how you build Wraith will vary largely based off your playstyle. Like I said, if you want to do auto attack damage, you're going to put some crit items on them. If you want to do mostly knock-knock damage, you probably want a split of physical and magical items with solid pin. So, your playstyle and how you build them could even include other niche items that I did not investigate above. So this is not every item in the game, but this is the ones that I see the most value on, or that we see on the predecessor builds page the most often. So don't be afraid to use your niche items if there's something that works for you that you like. So I can recommend to try building at least one of the items from each category above. If you're looking to make a well-rounded build, I'm thinking about one item from up here in the pure damage at least, one item for Mana Sustain, one item for Clear Speed, potentially one item for Health Sustain. You've got anti-heal options, which you may or may not need the majority of games, and then you've got tank killing options, which you're almost always picking up one or two of those every game. So if you want a well-rounded build, look for picking one or two items from each of these categories and you'll be alright. But often a well-rounded is not the goal of your build, if we're being honest. You should experiment with different items to see what feels best to you. A Wraith, with having so many build options, like I said, is very playstyle dependent. If you found what works for you, just keep doing it. If you're looking for what works for you, give these items a try first. Mix and match and see what you like and what you don't. So these same principles that I mentioned do apply to crest selection as well. Generally, Rogue, Magicians, or Consort Crest are your best options. Consort if you're in support. Rogue, generally if you're in carry, and Magician if you're in mid, in my opinion. But you will see a lot of people build Rogue's Crest in mid, Magicians in carry, sometimes the carry crest as well if you want one of the actives from it. But, fit your crest and your build to your playstyle on Wraith to get the most out of him. That is the biggest takeaway I can give you, is use this guideline to give you some head start in item experimentation, but in the end, what works for you is what works for you, and just keep building it once you've found it. Finally, in conclusion, some of the most used or staple items that you will see on Wraith are Resolution, Vanquisher, Perforator, and Infernum. If we look at the Wraith's build page, you're going to see those, at least 2 or 3 of those items on pretty much every build here. This first one, we see Infernum, Vank, Perforator. Infernum, Vank, no Perforator, but we got some magical items in there. We've got Resolution in this one. This is a big crit build. We've got Resolution in this one, as well as Malady, Demolisher instead of Perforator, but still picking up Infernum and Vank. So those are the most frequently seen items for sure. Some of my favorite tech or off-meta items that you're not seeing on this predecessor builds page very often are Cresselia. Particularly if you're in support role, I would highly recommend Cresselia because you can get it online fast and use it to upkeep your mana. Og, Noxia, both 20 haste items, great for cooldown. Dreambinder, a slow, big damage added to Knock Knock. Soulbinder, again, 20 haste and big damage added to your Knock Knock. Mind Razor for faster clear. Nightfall for a very solid health sustain. And Tainted Blade for a tricky damage taken from all sources added tainted item. Unless you're putting a lot of flat pin, and then Tainted Trident's probably better, right, most of the time. So that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope it helps. I hope it can help you improve your Wraith builds and gameplay. Like I said, Wraith is not a hero that I play a bunch. I'm giving him more tries now that I've done these calculations. He is a very exciting hero. I've seen the potential of what you can do with Wraith if you're good with him. I'm just not quite good with him yet, so I got to give him some more tries and experiment around with some of these items and see what I like the best. So that's what I've got for you. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you guys enjoy it. Timestamps below if you want to go back and rewind or check this out, or go in the description and pull up this spreadsheet for yourself. If you want to look through it, come down here at the bottom and put together some 6-item Wraith builds where you copy, like, let's copy Tainted Trident out and put it in a build. Let's copy Aegis of Agawar out and put it in the build, and then I can sum up what my knock-knock damage added is at the end. That would be a solid way to see a total knock-knock damage added of 6 items if you're interested in it. But like I said, you're really going to want a mix of these different type of tech usability. Like sometimes you're going to want a mana sustain item, you're going to want a clear speed item, you're going to want anti-heal some games, you're going to want probably 2 or 3 tank killing items the majority of games as well. So if you are a Wraith main, let me know what your build is in the description. I will try it out, or come out and see us live and drop your Wraith descriptions, and I will hop on them and give them a try live, and we can talk about what I liked, what I didn't like about the build, what I would switch out, and how it performed and how I performed with it, because like I said, I'm not a great Wraith player. So hope this one helped you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel and coming out and hanging out with us in the live streams. Keep enjoying Pred, man. It's been a great game, and I'm really excited about the direction that it's going with Omeda. Hopefully they go more in the, MOBA direction and less in the hero shooter direction. There's definitely some things I would like to see as far as movement speed, map size, minion value, jungle farm, objective spawn, respawn timers, all that stuff. There's stuff I would like to see, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to keep enjoying it as long as we've got it and keep riding the wave of Predecessor, because I think it's the best MOBA on the market. So thanks again, everybody, for stopping by. We will catch y'all on the next one. See y'all in tonight's live stream. As always, come out and have some fun with us, and we'll keep enjoying Pred together. So we'll see you on the next one.